very worst case scenario is you become interesting because you have a lot of things to talk about. You can connect with lots of people because you study a bunch of subjects and you know a little bit about something, and that's what it is to be educated, to know something about everything, and then to know everything about something. So to specialize in one thing, but to be able to talk about a whole bunch of subjects, even if they're not in your area of interest, because they're in someone's area of interest. Are there comedies in life? Oh yeah, what's so funny? Everything, if you look at it the right way. So is life a comedy or a tragedy? Yeah. Because what are you? Are you a thinking thing or are you a feeling thing? Yes. You're intellectual and you're emotional. You're both of these things. So life is both of these things. Which of it is you focus on, though, entirely up to you. It's that word in there, have to. It's how we almost never talk about should. We talk so much about have to. Like, I don't have to do that. Yeah, but should you? It's like, yeah, you have, a lot of us have freedom to ruin our lives, but should we? When you're 13 years old, do you have to listen to your parents? I suppose you can get away with not, but notice how it is that we get away with it. By hiding, by manipulating, by lying. Is hiding, manipulating, and lying, are any of these ever good things? You see how in order for us to do what we want to do, because we don't have to do anything else, we have to do terrible things in order to do the things that we want to do. Do you see the clear contradiction that's in there? And then to turn around and say, yeah, but I'm a good person. I should. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I say, we can agree at 3 years old, sure, 4, 5, 6. I don't know at what age that we should change that. I mean, I asked that earlier, like, where do we learn subordination? And I asked it kind of tongue-in-cheek because we like to think like, oh yeah, we learned it when we were earlier. Do we still learn it? Are we not all sitting in rows right now at desks that were, this room's a bit different, but in your classrooms that were assigned to you? And weren't you all like put into classes that you didn't sign up for? And then we get all excited because we get an elective. But the elective, we have like, 4 or 5 choices. None of them are necessarily too appealing to us, but at least you get a choice. It's like, do you want raw carrots or cooked carrots? Wow, I get a choice? We learn subordination all the way through, and subordination is not just that you're being forced to do something. Subordination is also like the helicoptering around that we do, where we, like obviously this class is a bit different, and that's why I think of this class as a Rorschach test. I don't stand above you. Come on, get to work. You can do this. Are you working on what you're supposed to be working on? Hey, put that away. Do this, do that. I mean, I can see why some teachers just go absolutely mad within a few years if that's how they view their job. If you see your job as to babysit and to try to force people who don't want to do something, to learn, who don't want to become intelligent, don't want to learn how to think, don't want to have a positive future. And that's really what it does amount to. I mean, how many of us ever sit there and say, education, oh my God, that's a horrible thing. Yeah, you don't want people to be too smart. I wouldn't want myself to be too smart anyway. I wouldn't want myself to be a thinker. My God, imagine if I became a thinker and was smart. Ugh, gives me the willies. None of us talk like that. But look at how we behave. We behave as though that's true. And we even try to tell ourselves these lies that can't possibly be true. Like, oh, I'm never going to need to know this in life. Now, how can you possibly know what you're going to need to know in life? And we also make this mistake of thinking that education, well, school anyway, is just about learning facts and data, which a lot of it is. But a lot of it is also learning how to think. And then in order to learn how to think, you have to have some things to think about. So yeah, facts, data, chronology, formulas, all of that is important because you have to have something to think about, something to think through. But when we say, oh, I'm never going to need that, maybe, but we can't possibly know. If I were to ask you, where are you going to be in 5 years? For some of you, that's like 20% of your life. It's more than 20% of your life. How can you possibly know where you're going to be in 5 years? If I were to ask you, what's the world going to be like in 10 years, 20 years? What can you possibly know about that? None of us can know about that. And so it just seems like it's a safer bet to learn as much as you can, to become as educated as you can, to learn how to think. I mean, the very worst case scenario is you become interesting because you have a lot of things to talk about. You can connect with lots of people because you study a bunch of subjects and you know a little bit about something. And that's what it is to be educated, to know something about everything, and then to know everything about something. So to specialize in one thing, but to be able to talk about a whole bunch of subjects, even if they're not in your area of interest, because they're in someone's area of interest. And whose area of interest is it going to be? You can't know. Is it going to be, maybe know a little bit about geology? Why? Maybe you're going to take an interview someday with somebody who's going to have a rock on their bookshelf, and you'll say, interesting rock, what is that? And they just have an interest in it, a passing thing, and then you happen to know it. I think I told you how I got this job, right? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, exactly, because I knew who was standing on second base in the 1988 World Series. When are you ever going to have to know that? Right? Turns out, I'm standing in front of you because I knew that. I'm not saying therefore go and learn a whole bunch of data and facts, but you don't even have to go out and learn it. It's brought to you every day, 5 days a week, between hours of 8:30 and 3:48. 3:38. Otherwise, what are we doing? I think I was asking that question. I don't remember if I was asking this class that question, but I was asking one of my classes that question last week. What are we doing otherwise? What are we doing otherwise? We're here anyway. What are we doing otherwise? Might as well get something out of it. It's like, we complain about pain and suffering. It's like, you have to go through it. You might as well get something out of it because you have to go through it anyway. The happy times, the positive times, you might as well make the most of them. Why? Because you're going through them anyway. What are you doing otherwise? And most of us aren't doing anything otherwise. I mean, we have to be here. We have to go through things. I mean, we don't have to, but that becomes that 13-year-old thing. I don't have to. Okay, so when you don't have to, you choose the wrong thing? That doesn't strike anybody as an odd thing? Like going back to this thing that Angel said earlier about trying to prove the world wrong. And there are people, I'm sure some of you are that person, where if someone says you can't do something, you just want to prove them wrong. Doesn't that just, if you think about that for a couple of seconds, doesn't that just seem odd? Like, we organize our whole lives around proving a person wrong. What do you get out of that? At the end, it's like, haha, I was right. And the person probably won't even remember that they told you where it is they told you. Like, they might tell you, oh, you'll never graduate from high school. And they may have just said that, like, when you were in 7th grade or something, like, flippantly, just off the cuff. And if you and you just kind of put your nose down, you graduate high school, and you go back to them and say, I graduated. And they'll be like, good, I'm glad you did. Yeah, but I see you're wrong. About what? Well, like 5 years ago, you told me I wouldn't do it, but I did. Oh. Well, good on you. I'm glad you did it. Like, how has their life changed one single bit? I'll save you the hassle. It's not. It's not. And it's amazing what we'll do just to try to prove other people wrong, but if it's a good thing, how about proving ourselves right? Because the truth is that most people just don't care. And I don't mean that in a cold sense of like, people just don't care. No, just like you probably don't care about other people either because you're too busy living your own life. Doesn't mean that you're indifferent to them. Doesn't mean you hate them. Doesn't mean that you hope that they die and burn in hell. It just means that you're too busy with your own thing. And most people are. So living your whole life to prove other people wrong is just living your whole life according to the dictates of other people. It's not living your own life, actually. It's just being reactive to other people. But imagine if you focused on your own life and thought about what it is that you want to do. And then you can see the steps to get there. Do you want to be more interesting? You want to have opportunities that you wouldn't have otherwise just because you're more interesting? Here's what you do. You study. You read. What? Everything. Everything. Why not? Are you ever going to come across a boss who likes anime? Maybe. So it's helpful to know some things about that. Are you ever going to come across a boss who read Catcher in the Rye? Perhaps. So maybe you read that also. In other words, know everything. You know something about everything, but then know everything about something, specialize in something. The thing you specialize in, probably the direction that you go in your life. Everything else that you know, that's just because it makes the world more interesting. You know more about it. You know more about people. It broadens your scopes. Are there comedies in life? Oh yeah. What's so funny? Everything, if you look at it the right way. Is there any subject that is just off limits and is not funny? Yeah, to unfunny people. But if you're a thinking person, you start to recognize the comedy in everything. Everything is funny. Doesn't mean you make fun of people, but people are funny, for sure. I've told that joke before. What's better than winning a gold medal at the Special Olympics? Ice Queen. That shit's funny. Especially what's even funnier is, you know who told me that joke? A dude with Down syndrome. And they go, well, it's okay for him to tell it, but not for you to laugh. So what are you saying? Sorry, let me clutch my pearls. Down syndrome children aren't funny? Is that what you're telling me? Well, no, but you see how you have to do all these mental gymnastics to just not acknowledge the obvious. It's funny. Why is it funny? If you understand why it's funny, because what are most of us arguing and fighting for and striving for? A little piece of metal, gilded metal, not even real gold. And yet, what are they striving for? Dude, ice cream's pretty dope. That's pretty interesting to them. Everything is funny if you look at it the right way. Doesn't mean that everything doesn't mean that nothing is serious. Something can be serious and funny. I remember I was sitting in UCLA one time during this exam, and you might have heard about this, but sometimes you'll take college classes, especially if you go to a UC, which is, they go by quarters, not by semesters, so it's just 10 weeks at a time, 10-week classes. It was common. I'd be taking one of these classes, and you get into like week 6, week 7, and the professor would come and say, it's occurred to me, I've never given you a midterm, did I? No, we haven't had a midterm yet. We've had no assignments all quarter. Okay, take out some paper. We're gonna write, and then they'll give you an essay to write that day, or they'll tell you, well, next time we're gonna write an essay, like week 8. That's your midterm. There were several classes I took where it was just one exam. That was it. End of the quarter. You'd write one essay. You'd write, you do one multiple choice test, whatever. It was just one thing, versus like weekly everything. So you have to be more proactive on your own. And I remember sitting in this exam. It was a final exam. It was the only exam that we took all quarter. It's the only test we took. So your whole grade is based off of this one thing. And I hear this guy like 2 desks over just like snickering and laughing. It's dead quiet, but he's like, you know that laughter where you're laughing so hard, but you're trying to hold the laughter in? That's him. He's like all red-faced, just sort of. And I looked at him, I'm like what? It's funny. And he just goes, I don't know any of this. I'm gonna fail the class. And it occurred to him, for some reason, he was so screwed that it was funny. Have you ever been so screwed that it's funny? That, what can you do? It's just laughter. This guy was gonna have to repeat the quarter, which meant that it was gonna hold him back on his graduation that much more. He was gonna have to repay for the class. So it cost him thousands of dollars because he wasn't prepared for this. So he was facing a thing that was gonna hold his life back by 6 months and cost him thousands of dollars, and he was so screwed that it was funny. Didn't mean it wasn't serious, but at least you can find some humor in it. You gotta go through things anyway. Maybe find some humor in it. Because what's so funny? Everything, if you look at it the right way. Some of you already know this about me. If you ever ask me for a dark humor joke, I can give you a dark humor joke. I usually ask you for a subject. Whatever subject you give me, I'll give you a dark humor joke. If you're walking by outside and you're just like, I need something to laugh at, just poke your head in the door. Just go, hey, Scout, have a dark humor joke. No matter what I'm doing at that moment, I could be talking to a class and say, guys, this is the most important thing you're ever going to hear in your life. What I'm about to tell you will change your life. It will guide you and direct you. It will give you purpose and meaning. And if you walk and go, Scout, can I get a dark humor joke? I'll go, yeah. I'll turn over and I'll give you a dark humor joke, and I'll forget to tell the class the life-changing thing. Because it's funny. Because that's how we get through things. Yeah, is life a tragedy? Yeah, of course. You can feel it. It's all around you. There's pain, there's suffering. This is true. None of that is untrue. Is it also comedy? Yeah, if you look at it the right way. That takes thinking. That's why comedians are so funny. Because they don't just blurt out stuff. They think. They view the world and they think. So is life a comedy or a tragedy? Yeah. Yeah. Because what are you? Are you a thinking thing or are you a feeling thing? Yes. You're intellectual and you're emotional. You're both of these things. And life is both of these things. Which of it is you focus on, though? Entirely up to you. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Dope. Happy Monday.